Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Greenlight Podcast Free Agency Special. We have the original four here in Alex, Michael, Jake, and Charlie, myself. And we have a list of about 12 premier free agents that are set to hit the market this year. We have suggested landing spots, see what we're going to do, see how the NBA landscape will change. Start off with a big ticket, Kawhi Leonard. Jake, where do you have Kawhi Leonard landing?
For me, I mean, obviously, this is a two-team race for Kawhi. It's Raptors or Clippers, and I think he's going to the Clippers. I mean, they did just win a championship in Toronto, but LA was the city he was seeking all along. So that's where I believe he will land.
Okay. Alex, how about you?
Kawhi Leonard, I got him re-signing in Toronto. I think after winning the ring, I think the relationship he's built with the fans, with the community, with his teammates, I think he's going to re-sign there on a long-term deal. I think he's going to keep Toronto in contention for the next 5 or 6 years. But I got him staying in Toronto.
Interesting. How about you, Michael? Where do you have Kawhi Leonard landing?
I got Kawhi re-signing with the Raptors. The Raptors did everything they could, to get him to stay, and I think he will. They ran the East. They won the first championship in franchise history, and they built a pretty good team around him. And he also has a really good relationship with Kyle Lowry. So, I think that'll be a big reason why he re-signs.
I'm going to agree with you guys. I have Kawhi Leonard staying in Toronto, but I'm a little different from you guys. I have him only signing a 2-year deal. I feel like he feels that he owes it to Toronto, which he does, to stay for another year, see if they can build something special. He's going to stay on either a 1 or 2-year deal, see if they can win a title. If they do, I believe then he'll sign long term. If they have a lot of success, he'll sign long term. If not, I feel like he'll leave in the short term, right after his contract, and
I
head over
could see
to LA
that.
with the Clippers.
Maybe a player option, short-term deal.
Yeah,
I could
that's
see
what I
that,
was
like a
believing. Like a
2-and-1.
2 or 3-year deal, 1-year player option.
Yeah. All right, who we got
All
next?
right, now let's head over to Kyrie Irving. Alex.
Oh, okay. So Kyrie Irving. So possibilities for Kyrie Irving. Possibility number one, he goes to the Lakers, rejoins LeBron and Anthony Davis, his good friend. They form a big three, and he wins a couple rings. I think already the Lakers are serious finals contenders, and I believe Kyrie Irving, wanting to play with Anthony Davis, having already played with LeBron, I think he will. I think that's a very realistic possibility. And they are making the cap space, so they can possibly get Kyrie or a Kemba, something like that. Possibly number two for Kyrie Irving. I have him landing with Brooklyn and recruiting another marquee free agent that could be either Kawhi Leonard possibly in the mix, or his buddy Kevin Durant, who will be out next year. But if the Nets can pick up Kyrie and KD, then that's gonna be set them up for the next 3 4
Be
years.
scary.
All right, Jake, what about you? Where do you have Kyrie Irving landing?
Well, it's again. I mean, I think he does land with a New York team. I don't really think he's gonna end up in LA because I think they'll go for more role players around LeBron and Anthony Davis. So I think he ends up with either the Nets or the Knicks. It's really whichever him and KD choose. I think them two will pair up on one of those two teams.
Interesting. Michael?
Yeah, I got Kyrie going to the Nets. The Nets are on the come up. They bounced back after like a few really bad seasons, and they're like one of the rising teams in the NBA. They have all-star point guard D'Angelo Russell, but it's looking like they're gonna let him walk. So I think this is gonna be Kyrie's team going into next year.
Okay. I have Kyrie heading over to the Lakers. I mean, like you said, he's good friends with Anthony Davis. He's played with LeBron. And when you think about it, I mean, LeBron showed his desire. He wants another superstar. Yes, he got Anthony Davis, but two men can't win a championship on their own. And they could either fill the bench with fill around role players, but I feel like when you have something like that, you have a chance to acquire Kyrie Irving, you have to do it. It's one of those moves you have to make if you want to win a title.
Now you say a two-man team can't win the finals, but we did just see Kawhi Leonard win by himself.
You have to admit, look at all the help Kawhi Leonard had around them. I know the help wasn't great all the time, but it wasn't like he was the only threat on the team.
I okay. personally, on a side note here, I think the Lakers already have enough to win a ring.
Oh yeah, for sure. But if they get Kyrie Irving, that pushes them. That pushes
Yeah,
them over
that's
the
over the
top.
top.
Yeah.
All right, next we're gonna go with Kemba Walker. I'll start with Alex on this one.
Kemba Walker, I got him resigning in Charlotte. I think him already coming out saying he would take a pay cut to get the team contending more. I think he loves Charlotte, and he already holds like all the records there. He's basically their face of their whole franchise and their history. It, the new one, the new Hornets at least. And if he somehow decides not to resign with Charlotte, who can actually give him like a supermax, then I do have him signing with the New York Knicks. He is from New York. Players, I have him going to the Knicks if he leaves the Hornets.
Interesting. Michael, let's go to you.
I got Kemba re-signing in Charlotte as well. I think loyalty is what ultimately is going to keep him there. And the Hornets only made the playoffs like I think twice in Kemba's like 9 years with the team,
I believe
and they
once.
haven't had, yeah, something like that, something very bad.
Then they're the eighth
And
seed
they're
against the Heat, I believe.
yeah. And they're in salary cap like hell through like the next 2 years, which like will limit their ability to find him like a sidekick to work with on the team. But I think ultimately like Kemba's gonna stay loyal to Charlotte, and you said he could take a pay cut. We'll see. I mean that would help the team more, but we'll see what happens. I think loyalty is gonna keep Kemba in Charlotte though.
If he does take a pay
Yeah.
cut, I do think that they will be able to pick up another solid piece because this is a very
Yeah,
deep free agency. So maybe if they can move some salary
a lot of
cap.
options.
Yeah, I think the Hornets could make a push if they sign Kemba. I think they could make a push for playoffs next season.
Yeah, especially in the East.
Yep. Jake, what
All
about
right,
you?
Jake, let's
Who you
go
got
to you.
Kemba going to?
Um, for me, I think he's staying in Charlotte. Although, if he were to leave the team, I'd expect him to go to is the Boston Celtics. But I mean, I just think he's staying in Charlotte.
Celtics,
He's
that's a
kind of
dark horse.
Yeah, I mean, Celtics, they just lost Kyrie and Horford, so they do have a lot of cap, and they got a lot of young guys still on rookie deals. So they do have a ton of cap, so I could definitely see them signing
Where do
him.
you see Terry
But
Rozier going to then? If you don't
Terry
have him
Rozier,
re-signing.
if Terry Rozier leaves, potentially the Suns. I mean, they
The Suns?
could
Okay.
definitely use another guard in the backcourt with Devin Booker. But going back to Kemba, I mean, if he does leave, I think Celtics, but I highly doubt it. I mean, he's loved Charlotte, and they can offer him a super max. So I think, in all likelihood, he's staying in Charlotte.
That's funny, Jake, you say that because I actually have Kemba signing with the Celtics. I feel like for the reasons you said with them losing Kyrie and possibly Al Horford, I feel like they're going to want to sign that new star point. I feel like Kemba fits that bill perfectly. Dominant ball handler. Somebody who can put up hit late game shots. He's shown he delivers in the
Interesting.
clutch. I mean, as a Sixers fan, nobody remember that game he had against us. I mean, this man delivers in the clutch. He's just one of those pieces you have to have on your team. All right, let's go to Jimmy Butler. Mike, we'll start with you.
I got Jimmy Butler re-signing with the Sixers. I think the Sixers are gonna offer him a max, and he's gonna take it. I think he loved the city of Philly, and you could see throughout the year he had tons of fun playing with the team, and he meshed well, like with other players. And ultimately, Jimmy does care about winning. Like in the end, he said that multiple times, and the Sixers can definitely win with this guy. Like you've seen what they did in the playoffs. They took the championship. They took the championship winning Raptors to 7 games, which was the most they went with any other team in the playoffs. So
Miracle
this team can
shot by
definitely win,
Kawhi.
and this team can definitely win, and that's what Jimmy Butler wants. So I think that's why I'll re-sign.
That's interesting. That's interesting. I mean, me personally, I think where he's gonna go is, honestly, I mean, if he doesn't resign with the Sixers, I could see him possibly getting signed and traded. That is the rumor
Yeah,
right now of
that
the
came out
hour
a
to
few
the
days
Houston
ago. Yeah,
Rockets. Now, if this was to happen,
possible.
the Rockets would have to give up in part of the deal to make the financial things match up. They'd have to give up Clint Capella Eric Gordon, and I'm hearing PJ Tucker. Now, if you're a Sixers fan, or at least the Sixers front office, like Ellen Brand, I don't know if you're gonna take that offer. I mean, maybe they'd have to throw in some picks. Now, Jimmy Butler is 29 years old, about to be 30, so it's not like he's, you know, it's not like he has 5 more years left in his prime. So the Rockets do want to win now, so I could see them giving up a
Yeah.
lot for Jimmy Butler. It's just I don't know if the Sixers are willing to pick up another big man on a big contract. I mean, Eric Gordon and PJ Tucker are solid shooters. He would help out the Sixers a lot in the playoffs, but they probably have to try and unload Clint Capella, which I'm hearing that there was some trade discussions, him and Jared Allen before the NBA draft. Obviously, those fell through, but that could be a possible destination if the Sixers end up making that deal.
Yeah, definitely. All right, Jake, we're gonna head over to you.
All right. For me, Jimmy Butler, I got him staying. He's 29 years old, and I think the Sixers will offer him a 5-year max, which should set him for the rest of his career. I think he'll stay with the Sixers for the rest of his career, and because I mean, if you look, with the Bulls, had a little bit of locker room issues. You know, he fought with D Wade a little bit and other teammates. Went to the
Yeah.
Timberwolves, had issues with Karl Anthony Towns and Wiggins. He came to the Sixers and he didn't really have that many issues with anyone. I mean,
Yeah, I agree.
and you saw the Sixers kind of gave him a new role as a closer, and he enjoyed it like really well. I mean, you saw in the playoffs, he just took over games in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, definitely. All right, next up, you guys want to go on to Al Horford here?
However,
Alright.
All right, Alex, we'll start with
get
you.
the Celtics out the way.
Yeah.
So Al Horford, since he has opted out, I do think the Celtics are going to be pushing hard for Al Horford to resign. Now he is older; he is in his mid-30s, but he is a very solid player. He is going to get overpaid here, regardless of where he goes, because of his ability to help out a contending team right now. I do have the Celtics making an offer for him, but I don't have them getting him since they probably won't offer him as much as other teams will. Where I have him going is a team like the Minnesota Timberwolves. I believe the Timberwolves picked up
Ooh.
Al Horford and had him to kind of mentor Karl Anthony Towns. I do think that leadership could push Cat over the edge here and make him a first team, second team All NBA. And with Al Horford, you could
Wow.
run a Twin Towers lineup or have him come off the bench in certain games when you need to for matchups. I do think that that could push him over the edge, and maybe with them, if they can keep Derrick Rose, because he is a free agent this year, if they can keep Derrick Rose, have a solid point guard, I do think that they could sneak in a 5 to 8 seed next year if they pick up Al Horford. If he
Yeah, that's an
doesn't get
interesting one.
re-signed by the Celtics.
I think it could work though. Jake, we'll head over to you.
All right, so I don't think Al Horford is staying in Boston. I actually think he's going to the New Orleans Pelicans. They are a very young team, and currently they do not have a center. I think they have Jahlil Okafor, but obviously, you know, he's not really much of a starting center. But yeah, I think Al Horford brings some veteran presence to an extremely young team. I mean, and if you think about it, a lineup with Lonzo Ball, Drew Holiday, Zion, Brandon Ingram, and Al Horford, that's a pretty solid team.
Okay, I like
Yeah.
a solid option. What about you, Charlie? Where you got Al Horford going off to?
Al Horford, I actually have him staying in Boston. I feel like, to me, Al Horford seems like a loyal guy. I mean, I feel like he loves the city of Boston. The city of Boston, I feel like they embrace him. They embrace his attitude. He kind of has that attitude. I feel like he rubs off well on the younger players, like Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown. I feel like they feed off his energy some games. So I feel like he wants to stay there and try to build something special. I really honestly can't see. Obviously, there's other fits around the league for him, but I just can't see another team that he would want to go to as much as he'd want to stay in Boston. And I can't see why that Boston wouldn't want to bring him back.
All right. So
All right,
yeah,
let's-
I got Horford. Yeah, I'll go.
Yeah, go ahead.
I got Horford going to the Mavericks here. You know, the Mavericks, they're a rising team. They got two young pieces to, like, a very good young core. All the Mavericks need is a few more bench pieces, and not having a first round pick in this year's draft kind of sucked for them, but I think Horford would be a great starting point for them in free agency, and it adds like a good front court defensive presence to go along with Porzingis. And I don't really think there's any negatives to signing Horford for the Mavs. So, and they have the cap to do it. I mean, not that he would be a very expensive player, but they can sign him.
How
And I
much-
think they will. So,
Real quick, how much we
Yeah.
think Al Horford's gonna get per year? I'm saying he might get 25 a year. I think he's gonna be a very
Yeah,
expensive.
he'll
player.
I
get
think
in
it
the
might be
20s.
somewhere low 20s. Yeah, I think we'll get somewhere
But
around
the
there.
thing
yeah.
is, he
I have him
is
around 18
seeking
to
a
19.
4-year deal because the Celtics originally planned on offering him a 3, but he didn't want it.
Right. Yeah.
All right, let's
We'll see
move
that.
on. We kind of mentioned this guy a little earlier, but let's actually talk about him a little more. D'Angelo Russell. So
Yeah.
let me start this off. So real quick, obviously D'Angelo Russell, restricted free agent, first-time All-Star, kind of emerged as the leader and fan favorite for the Brooklyn Nets. Obviously, a couple years ago, was traded to the Nets with Timothy Mozgov for Brook Lopez and I believe a pick. Lakers gave up on him because of the Swaggy P situation. Picked up Lonzo
Right.
Ball as well. Moving on, D'Angelo Russell. Personally, if he same thing with Kyrie Irving. If he does not get picked up by the Nets, if they don't match his deal and go for Kyrie Irving and someone else, then I do have him going one of two places. I have him either going back to the Lakers, which I think he wants to make things right, but
Yeah.
personally I don't think he would mesh well. But I think knowing D'Lo, being a Nets fan, I think he would want to get some revenge on like his time there. He didn't really fulfill his potential there. Another destination I have him going to is the Pacers. I think him and Victor Oladipo,
Ooh.
that backcourt, I believe that could be a
That'd
serious
be a good
backcourt. I think
backcourt for sure.
that could be a top 3 backcourt in the league right now. I think that's on Damian Lillard, CJ McCollum level. And I think that with Victor Oladipo coming back and with the Pacers actually having a very solid team making the playoffs after Oladipo went down, I mean, obviously they didn't go too far, but with Oladipo coming back, with Sabonis improving year by year, Miles Turner also improving, and very solid role players, and obviously Larry Bird in the front office, I do believe that if they pick up D'Angelo Russell, could be finals contenders. What do you guys think?
Alright.
Interesting.
Where you guys got D'Lo going to?
Jake, you
I'll
wanna
jump
get-
in
you
here.
wanna- Yeah, we'll go.
Yeah, I have D'Angelo Russell staying. Obviously, if Kyrie and KD were wanted to team up in Brooklyn, they wouldn't say no to that. But I think I don't know. I think KD's leaning more towards the Knicks than he has the Nets. So I think D'Angelo Russell's gonna stay in Brooklyn. I mean, you saw how he was struggled with the Lakers, and then he came to Brooklyn, and he emerged as a star. I mean, he was an all-star this year. So I think he stays in Brooklyn.
Two great points there. Two great points there. Let's move on to Mike.
All right. So earlier I predicted Kyrie signing with the Nets, and I think if that does happen, I think the Nets are gonna let D'Angelo Russell walk. And lately, the D'Angelo Russell reunion with the Lakers, that rumor's kind of been growing, and I think it's a good chance that it happens. If D'Angelo Russell, the big need for the Lakers right now is a point guard. I mean, who do they have? Is it Rondo? Is there maybe still their starting point guard as of right now? So it's
No, he's
obviously-
not under
Rondo is
contract.
Not even under
is a free
contract.
agent.
So
Their only
who knows who
point
they
guard
have
on the
there
roster
right
is
now.
Isaac Bonga, 6'9".
Isaac
And
Bonga.
Alex
So-
Caruso.
Alex Caruso, yeah. So I mean, it's a huge need for them. I mean, I'm not sure how he would mesh or like how it would go down, like his relationship with the front office. But I think it would be really cool to see. I think it would be great to see those three play together, like D'Angelo Russell, LeBron, AD. I'm not sure how likely it is, but it could work if he signs there. I think he's going there though. To the
Let's move on to
Lakers.
Charlie. Charlie, where you got
I
D'Lo
have
going to?
I have D'Angelo Russell staying in Brooklyn. I feel like, I believe it was Alex who said this. If they're going to try to make that push for Kyrie, but ultimately I think he'll end up in LA. So I feel like think about it. D'Angelo Russell's not a bad second option. I mean, like you said, first time All-Star, carried the team to the playoffs at most points. I mean, this kid can play. When you think about it, he's a loyal kid. Obviously, he had a little mistake down in LA back when he was younger, but he's matured, I believe, since then. He's ready He's ready to take over a team. He wants to be a leader of a team. I think he'll stay in Brooklyn. They're going to try to build with pieces around him. And I believe they could be a title contender within the next 2 or 3 years, especially if they add another marquee free agent. I mean, Brooklyn's a team on the rise. You got to look out for him.
That is a very good point there, as you bring up. And from what I've heard is if the Nets cannot get a package with Kyrie Irving, if they cannot lure another superstar with Kyrie Irving in Brooklyn, they're gonna just stick with D'Angelo Russell, who they can pay a max, but he would also be getting less. He would be getting 5 mil less per year than Kyrie Irving. So
Interesting point.
I think
Who's next?
that's the dealo. Okay, let's move on to our next topic. And our next topic for the day is, yes, Nikola Vucevic.
Ooh.
Obviously, all-star center. He's improved vastly with the Magic year by year. He's slowly become, honestly, he could be a top 5 center. You could make that debate for Nikola Vucevic. He can do it all. He's a decent rebounder. He's an 18 and 10 guy. Sometimes could get you 25 on a good night. So where do I have him going? So I think Vucevic, if he does not re-sign with the Magic, which I think would be a mistake, because the Magic, I mean, they don't have much going for them. Let's be honest here. So if the Magic don't re-sign him, which I have them re-signing him, but if they do not re-sign him, then I have Vucevic going off and possibly playing with the Lakers. Yes, the Lakers.
Ooh, yeah.
So with obviously Anthony Davis can play center and power forward. He came to the league as a power forward and has the past 2 years played as a center once Boogie left. But I do believe if the Lakers strike out on an all-star guard and they're still trying to make a push for a superstar or at least another all-star caliber player, I do have them going for Vucevic. He can stretch the floor for LeBron and Anthony Davis. He can play in the post. He can rebound. He can play some defense when he wants to. I think he would be a perfect big man duo with Anthony Davis. We saw with DeMarcus Cousins when he was there in the Pelicans. I mean, both of them were debatably the top 2 big men in the league at the time.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Who wants to go next?
Magic. A while ago, you heard the GM saying how much, like, he would do anything to get their center back. I mean, he's the star of their team and the only star of their team. I think it's gonna take a lot to keep him in Orlando, though, because like Alex said, they don't have a lot going over there. They have a few young players, Isaac and Gordon, but they haven't shown much. They're gonna need to improve a lot next season. Yeah, and Bamba. But yeah, I think Vucevic will resign ultimately because I think the front office will convince him enough, and I think they'll give him a good amount of money, not a max, but they'll give him a good amount of money to where he stays, and hopefully get him some help over there because he doesn't have any right now.
Now,
but yeah, I think he's resigning Orlando.
Can we bring this up real quick? How the Magic did draft Victor Oladipo back in 2013, but gave him away for, I believe, Serge Ibaka. Now, if they had Victor Oladipo still, I mean, maybe he wouldn't be the player he is. He didn't really take that step until after he left OKC. But
yeah,
still, that if he could develop into half the player he is now in Indiana, I mean, I think it's no brainer that the Magic would be
Magic would be a good team. Yeah.
Yes. Jake, where you got Vucevic going? Or you got him staying?
I'm gonna keep it quick because you guys mostly covered it. I think he's staying with the Magic. I mean, you guys mostly covered it though, so I'm not gonna go into too much detail. But yeah, I mean, they have a really nice young core. I mean, you saw them trade for former #1 overall pick Markelle Fultz, who, I mean, hey, he's still really young. You never know what he could turn out to be. So, but overall, I just think Vucevic is staying.
Oh, quick side note on Markelle Fultz. The GM of the Magic says he has no idea when Markelle Fultz is going to be able to play again with, once again,
very nice.
Serious shoulder injury. But that's the update on the Markelle Fultz situation. So, Charlie, we're going to have Vucevic going off too.
I think we should just go to the next play.
Okay, that's fine.
Yep.
So next for Chris Middleton. So Chris Middleton, I'll
Eh,
start it off. Chris Middleton, obviously all-star caliber player. Did he make the all-star game this year? I think he
Yeah, he did.
did.
Yep.
Yep. So all-star caliber player. Obviously, he's a great shooter. He's big. He can play the 2-3. You can even put him at so short and sweet. Obviously, the tandem that he and Giannis had on the Bucks made them into serious contenders in the East. I think the Bucks will do everything that they can to keep him. It seems like we have some technical difficulties, some static going on in the mic,
Yeah, something's
but
going on.
moving on. Chris Middleton, I do have him re-signing with the Bucks on a long-term deal. I think he will go. I think the Knicks are going to make a push for him, but overall, I think he's staying in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
So Jake, where you got him
Uh,
going to?
Yeah, I have him staying in Milwaukee as well. I mean, they made it to the conference championship last year and lost to the NBA champions in six. And honestly, I think he's the perfect sidekick to Giannis. Just very solid 3 and D player, can play at the 2 or the 3, whichever you need him. And I just think he's the perfect guy to go along with Giannis. And so I think he'll be staying in Milwaukee for the future.
Yeah, I think that's the most likely scenario for Middleton. I have him re-signing in Milwaukee as well. He was a huge piece of that team during that incredible run through the Eastern Conference last year. I think, like Alex said, they're going to do everything in their power to keep him. Their cap situation is a little complicated. They have a lot of pending free agents, restricted free agents. Brooke Lopez, Malcolm Brogdon, George Hill off the bench as a pending free agent. He played a huge role last season. But I think their number one priority is to get Chris Middleton back on the team, and I think they're going to do just that. So,
Quick side note: Nikola Mirotic, another Buck. Where do you have him going to? Do you
that's
have?
right.
I don't know if they can re-sign because they have a lot of great role players entering
They
free
do.
agency, including Brook Lopez, who we'll cover a little later. But Mirotic, do you have him staying or going? One word answers.
I think he's gone.
I think they're
Going,
going to let Mirotic go, yeah.
going. All right. Let's move on to Golden State. All right. So obviously Kevin Durant and Klay Thompson both unrestricted free agents. Both will
Yeah.
probably be out. Well, Kevin Durant will be out for the whole year next season. Klay Thompson could return for playoff action if they make playoffs. So let's start with Klay Thompson. Me personally, I think it's a no-brainer. He said it himself. He wants to stay in Golden State. I think
Yeah.
he's staying in Golden State. 5-year max. It's kind of easy. Splash growth, Steph Curry. Jake first. Excuse me. Where do you got Klay
All
going
right, for
to?
Clay, it's unless the Warriors disrespect him by not giving him the 5-year max, he's staying. But I mean, if they do try and get greedy, he's going to leave. But I don't think Golden State will. Clay has been the backbone of their what you call it, super team for the last couple of years. So I think he'll get the 5-year max.
Yeah, same here. I think Clay's definitely going to get the 5-year max. You know how important he is to that team, and there's not much to say. It's easily the most likely scenario. He's probably going to go back to Golden State next year.
All right, Kevin Durant. This is an interesting topic. This is probably the topic of the whole offseason. So Kevin Durant,
Yeah.
obviously, with that big injury happening in the playoffs and rupturing his Achilles, he will be out all of next season. That puts a kind of a damper on things. I mean, it looked like for all of the season, him and Kyrie were going to be teaming up in New York, which still could happen. I hear the Nets are emerging as favorites out of the two New York teams. But for Kevin Durant, I have him leaving the Golden State Warriors. I have him pairing up with Kyrie Irving in Brooklyn if Kyrie's able to convince him to go there. I do have him going to Brooklyn, 5-year max, and I do have him, obviously out for next year. Kyrie Irving will have to carry the team next year. Probably won't be finals contenders, but once KD comes back, the Nets are going to be serious contenders.
All right.
Yeah, Jake, you want to go here?
Yep. I think KD will team up with. I mean, it's close to being set that him and Kyrie are gonna team up, and I think that they'll team up with the Knicks. I think they'll go there with R.J. Barrett. I mean, just KD from the get-go of this season, he was linked with the New York Knicks. I mean, that was kind of the place he wanted to go. And I mean, it's actually statistically the best place he's played in. I think his 3-point percentage goes up like 10% when he's playing in Madison Square
It's
Garden.
interesting.
So, yeah, it's he plays his best games there, and I think that's the place he wants to be.
All right, so earlier I predicted Kyrie going to the Nets, and I think if he goes there, Durant is definitely going to go to the Nets. I think, you know, it's the right market for Durant. He's gonna have immediate success once he comes back. He's gonna be paired with Kyrie. Both want to play with each other, and the Nets are gonna be an issue for teams like in the next few years if they get those two players, and they're gonna offer him a lot of money. They have the cap to do it, obviously, and I think him and Kyrie are gonna want to play there, and I think he's gonna sign there for next year.
Let's also briefly talk about the Nets. What obviously it can't just be a two-man team, and next year obviously it will
Right.
just be Kyrie. But the Nets have a solid team. I mean, they have the three-point champ Joe Harris. They have Spencer Dinwiddie, who could honestly be a starting point guard in any other team that needs a point guard, and um, with youngster Jared Allen being a superb rim protector.
Yeah.
I mean, they got some pieces there. They're still developing. I mean, they could be contending for the next 7 8 years.
Yeah, they could. A lot of the very good bench, especially with Dinwiddie
Very
coming
good
off the
bench.
bench. That's huge for them.
All right, let's see. Next topic, we have DeMarcus Cousins. So DeMarcus Cousins, I mean, he was the best big man in the game pre Achilles tear. Signed a vet minimum with the Warriors, trying to get a ring. Doesn't happen. Tears his quad. Comes back in the finals. Does not that well. Uh, Boogie, I don't know. I don't know how many teams are gonna take a chance on him. He's in his late 20s. He has been injured. I mean, two huge injuries for a big man. He's not very mobile as it is. I don't have him getting a max contract. I have him honestly going back to the Sacramento Kings. I believe that the Kings can get Boogie back, pair him up with that young core with Buddy Hield and De'Aaron Fox, getting maybe a pick and pop, pick and roll action. I think the Kings, it's risk reward with DeMarcus Cousins. I do believe he could be making 20 a year, even with the injuries he's had. But yeah, I have
Hmm.
him going to the Sacramento.
Nice.
Alright,
I guess I'll go
Jake,
next. I
yeah.
I think I think he goes to the Atlanta Hawks. I mean, they have Trey Young, who's the Rookie of the Year runner-up, and they have a very nice, solid young big man in John Collins. And I think that the Hawks would be the team to give Boogie a 2-3 year contract. Of honestly, I don't know what would the price range would be, but I think they could. I think the Hawks should take a chance on. If he does go back to how he was when he's in Sacramento and on the Pelicans, I mean, him, Trey Young, John Collins, that could be a very solid big three.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, agreed. Like Alex, I actually have Boogie Cousins going back to the Kings as well. You know, their starting center, Willie Cauley-Stein,
He is
just
leaving.
said, yeah, he said he wants
Confirmed.
out of Sacramento. And you know that young backcourt the Kings have, the Aaron Fox, Buddy Hield, and then you bring on DeMarcus Cousins. He's coming off an injury, obviously, but you know I think it's a low risk, high reward situation for the Kings because they have a huge void at that center spot. And honestly, if they can get DeMarcus Cousins at that center spot, they're going to be a tough team in the West. I mean, West is going to be tough to make the playoffs, but you know it's going to be tougher
Don't
opponents to play
forget they have
against those
Marvin
guys.
Bagley.
Yeah, Marvin Bagley as well. So you know
Let
we'll see how that
real
works
quick,
out, but.
real quick. Speaking of the Kings and the Warriors, Harrison Barnes declined his player option with the Kings, former
Hmm.
Warrior, of course. Now, if Kevin Durant leaves, I mean, we could see a return to the original Hamptons five if they
Yeah, I think
decide
so.
to push
We
Harrison
certainly
Barnes.
could.
Next on the agenda, we got Tobias Harris. So obviously, also, he should have been an All-Star. Got snubbed. Got traded from the Clippers. Obviously, having a great season there. Him and Boban to the Sixers, as stated earlier. I don't think the Sixers will be able to lock down Tobias Harris. I think Tobias Harris will be going to actually the Atlanta Hawks. I believe if Tobias goes to the Hawks, have a nice solid shooting wing defender. He can play the four, he can play the three. I think him and John Collins will be a very dynamic duo. I guess you could call it if they run John Collins, if they run small ball in some games, John Collins at the five, and they can all stretch, they can all shoot. So I believe if he goes to the Hawks, they could actually be a top four seed
Very interesting.
on a max deal, like 4 or 5 years.
All right. I think a big key on it is if they re-sign Jimmy Butler, because if they do, I think they'll go all in and sign Tobias Harris. I mean, Elton Brand has been told by the owner already. I mean, you can spend as much as you need to. So Elton Brand will certainly be looking to, bring back the team that was one win away from eliminating the NBA champions. I mean, one lucky bounce, and the Sixers could be moving on to play the Bucks
Yep.
and potentially the Warriors. But I think they bring Tobias Harris back. I mean, I think they'll offer. I think they'll give him and Jimmy Butler the max.
Ooh, interesting. Now, do you think he's worth a max though? Obviously, he's very talented and he's gonna help you possibly get to the finals, but is he honestly worth a max contract?
It
Obviously,
depends on the
teams will
situation.
teams will give him max offers, but is he really
Yeah.
worth max?
It depends on the situation because for the Sixers, yes, because if you could get that fourth All-Star, I mean that's worth it. But if you're a team like the Lakers and you only have one max spot left to finish off your big three, I don't think you do it.
That's
Yeah,
a
I
valid
agree. I
point.
think it depends.
Mike, have you commented on Tobias?
Yeah, I have Tobias re-signing with the Sixers as well. You know, he's an all-star. He's an all-star caliber player. He should do better. You saw once he came to the Sixers last year, he declined, not greatly, but he declined from what he was on the Clippers, and that's obviously because less star power on the Sixers and whatnot. But or the Clippers, I mean. But I think he should do better with some more time to work into like that Sixers scheme and what they do to run their offense. And I think they already said they're gonna prioritize signing Butler and Tobias, and they're gonna give him the money to do it. And I think he liked Philly, so I think he's gonna re-sign there.
Okay. Last topic of the day, we have the premier, absolute cream of the crop, best shooting big man in the league this season, Brook Lopez. So
yeah.
obviously, he's gonna get paid. Honestly, Boardman's gonna get paid. He's gonna get paid 15 plus a year, I believe, for the next 3 or 4 years. I think the Lakers obviously made a mistake letting go of Brook Lopez and Lou Williams. Lou Williams a couple years before, obviously, but Brook Lopez, I have him actually signing with the San Antonio Spurs. I think the Spurs having a declining Aldridge and still in his prime DeMar DeRozan with if they can get Brook Lopez, spread the paint a little more for DeMar DeRozan and Aldridge to get their post moves in and work the paint, because they are going to be losing Rudy Gay. I believe he's going to go somewhere else. I think Brook Lopez to the Spurs could actually elevate the Spurs back and maybe get them second, third round.
Alright. I have Splash Mountain staying with the Bucks. I mean, he was a big part to that 60-win team. I think, especially just he's a shooter, and when you have a guy like Giannis, all you need to do is
Shooters
surround him
shoot.
with very solid shooters, and that's exactly what Brook Lopez was. I mean, you saw. I think he was the best transition shooting big man in the league. I mean, his shot has really come a long way.
Yeah, long way since those post days in Brooklyn when he was younger.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's gonna bring an end. Well, actually, real quick, Carmelo Anthony, real quick, where we got him going?
Well, actually, I don't think Mike got to speak on Brook Lopez, so I
didn't.
think we should let him
Yeah,
go.
I gotta
He
get my
doesn't
2
matter.
cents in there.
All right.
For Brook
Go ahead,
Lopez.
buddy.
All right, well, I actually got Brook Lopez going to the Hawks. You know, Brook Lopez, John Collins in that front court would be pretty dangerous. You know, you have the athleticism, John
Dangerous.
Collins. You know, that slashing ability he has in the paint,
Man, the
and Brook
Hawks are
Lopez
players.
as the perimeter. Yeah, they are. They are. They're making moves, and you know they have a young core to build around. Brook Lopez obviously
Evan
not on the
Turner.
young side, but yeah, Evan Turner, man, you know he's dangerous, and yeah, I think he's gonna go to the Hawks.
He's a bona fide scrub, let's be honest here.
Yeah.
Now,
All right, let's go on to
Car-
Melo.
Carmelo Anthony, I have him going to Golden State. Golden State on a vet
Really?
minimum. I think him and Steph Curry are going to dominate. I believe Carmelo Anthony is going to have a resurgence with the Warriors. I think he's going to be averaging 18, 19 points a game, 40% from the three,
Yeah.
44% overall.
Fair.
I think he is
Very
going to be a
bold.
borderline all-star. I think
That's
he's going to
bold,
bring
man.
relevance back to the Warriors. He's going to lead. He's going to be the second main scorer while Clay is gone. He's going to absolutely. Him and Curry are going to be the most exciting duo to watch. I'm
Ah.
calling it now.
Interesting.
All right.
That's very.
I mean,
very,
for me-
interesting take there.
For me, the Suns, they're one player away from a championship, and I think
Ooh. Ooh.
that's exactly what Melo brings. I mean, think about it. A lineup of him, Devin
Melo and
Booker,
championship?
DeAndre Ayton. That is a
That ship
ridiculous
sailed in
trio.
2014 when he resigned with the Knicks.
No, I think the Suns are one player like Melo away from a championship. And if he were to go to the Suns, expect him to be in the NBA Finals.
All right, that's very. I think that's unrealistic to say the least. Mike, where you got Carmelo Anthony going to?
Yeah.
Maybe
I got
the
him
New York
getting a
Knicks
little
in
reunion with the
reunion?
Knicks. Yeah. I mean, I
Nice,
think you know
nice.
it's funny now because you know, calling Melo Anthony Knicks. You know, it's just a funny thing to think about now. But you know, if they can get him that triangle offense, bring back Phil
Mentor
Jackson,
RJ.
then you know,
Ooh,
Yeah.
I don't
I
think,
think-
so. I don't think so. I don't think that will happen. I don't think
I
that
mean-
will happen. Phil Jackson kind of destroyed the Knicks. He got lucky with Porzingis, but let's be honest
Yeah.
here.
but that's all I got.
All right, well, that's all we
I
got
think-
for today, guys. Tune in when we
We'll
talk
see.
NFL
We'll see you.
and more. We'll see you.
see you
We'll
next
see you
month.
soon.
That's right. Green light, baby. That's
It's
green,
green,
baby.
baby.
Green.